Welcome to the It's Time to Wow 'Em podcast. I'm here with Creagan Barry. He is a mortgage lender in Virginia Beach. Super excited to have him on today because what sparked our relationship, we both were at an event in July with our Forward family in Las Vegas. And I'm super excited because he did what I have always wanted to do, but he actually implemented it. They were handing out survival kits at the event, which is a brilliant idea. And I've thought of it numerous times, and I've been to other events where other people also did this. And I don't know what's held me back, but it was really impressive what you did. And it kind of ties right into my whole WowM concept and framework. So I wanted to talk to you about this. I thought it was great. And so what inspired you, Creagan, to these survival kits? What sparked your inspiration, I guess?
So, every good idea comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
And that somewhere or some person was actually my wife, who's also my business partner. She's also a loan officer / branch manager here at American Financial Network. And, she's a marketing genius, literally. So it's one of those things where she comes up with these ideas and she implements them very quickly. So I'm going to be the first one to give her the credit because she's really the one that came up with it. And it just so it happened it was divine intervention for us to meet
Yeah.
in that form, because guess what? It worked. That's
Yes.
really what the goal of marketing is does it work? Do people remember you? Do people invite you to things? Or do you make a connection where you can invite them to things to the point to where hopefully you can engage and potentially work together at some point? Whether it be actually in real estate or in some other form like this.
Yeah.
So obviously it worked. Like we were just talking about, I have another meeting with another guy that he was coming at me saying he wanted me to come on his podcast, all because of this survival kit. It's a talking point, right? It's
Yeah.
something to talk about. So the coolest thing about it all is I think we made 50 a piece, and she had the items delivered to the hotel for the most part, a large majority, like a large majority of the items delivered to
Okay.
the hotel. And then we only brought an extra suitcase of like extra, things as well. And in hindsight, we would have just got everything delivered to the hotel, because
That's
you don't really
actually
need to.
brilliant because
Yeah.
I would have thought you had already pre-made all these and then brought them to the event, which
No.
actually is super brilliant because you're not carrying a bunch
Yeah,
more weight that's
exactly.
going to cost you a fortune to put on the plane.
We literally made them in our hotel room before the event. That previous Thursday, I think is what it was, or Friday, yeah,
Yes.
Thursday. Anyway, yeah, we made them the day before, and it was great. And I think it was Instacart probably, or
Okay.
Walmart. Whatever delivery you wanted to service. Actually, I think it might have been Walmart. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Get it delivered to the hotel. And they meet you down there. Yes, it was the only hassle was we were staying at Resorts World, and obviously that's a huge hotel with multiple entrances. So
Yes.
that's literally the only genuine hassle was trying to find the gentleman who didn't really speak English as a first language, trying to find out where they are. Thankfully, the
Yeah.
bellhop spoke Spanish, so we were good to go.
Yeah.
And he was able to get us directed exactly where we needed to be. So once again, adapt and overcome always in all things. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's really where the idea came from. She's, like I said, she is a marketing genius, and she implements and I implement whatever she comes up with. Obviously, I have a little bit of feedback, but as most of you know, that those of you men that are out there that are married, you understand. Happy
Yes.
wife, happy life. Yes, dear, and all the things. So,
Yes.
but yes, like I said, it's great, and it was a great idea. Like I said, we had 50 a piece. We had custom stickers made with our faces and the Forward logo, to
Yes.
extra customization. I wish we still had a picture of it, to show it to you, but
I do
maybe
have
you
a
do.
picture of it, but
Maybe you
I'll
do. Either
post
way,
it in the comments
there you
because
go.
I do have a picture of it.
Yeah, and she just had it made. I think she made it on Canva, to be honest with you. I don't
Okay.
think I did. She made it right on Canva, and then you can literally get stickers sent to you just like you can business cards through
Yep.
Canva. They'll deliver it directly to you. They were decent enough quality. They just stick on something. That's what, it works.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Um,
super luxury style when it's
correct.
comes to something like that, right?
Yeah. And anything that I can really say when it comes to doing things like this, or posting on social media, as you may know, I do a decent amount on social media, like just
Yes, you
try to
do.
stay consistent on posting. We talked about it. Consistency is tough and it is
Mhm.
key, but uh, don't overthink it. Literally, don't
Yeah,
overthink it. That was the best advice that I've ever got when it comes to anything social media related, but it also translates into things like this, like the pop buys. That's literally all this was a networking um, convention pop buy.
yeah, absolutely, and the fact that well, I mean, 100 is amazing considering I'm pretty sure there was 1,000 people, so when you think about how cool it would have been to have even more, right? Or even maybe you need to talk to Neil and have it set out next year on all the tables or something. That might be an
Well,
idea.
hopefully people do this too. That's
Yes.
the goal, right?
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
this too. Don't be afraid. See, it's like people are afraid to meet, right? But they're not
yeah,
afraid. I'd say 75% of that room is extroverted, probably. And they
yes.
don't mind going and talking to people because you go out in that front area, there's everybody always talking. But now that I know you, Michelle, guess what? Next event I see you
Mhm.
at, I'm going to go over and say, hey, what's up? Good to see you.
Yeah,
But the problem is there's a good chance we're going to sit there and talk for 15 minutes.
yeah,
You know,
that's
but
true.
we should maybe only talk for 5 minutes because I already know you.
Yeah.
But what I've started to do, I'm actually going to a networking event today in Norfolk, Virginia, the Hampton Roads Networking Group, and it's one of the groups that I kind of engage in and belong to. There's 3 total that I kind of like engage with here locally. Yes, there is some overlap, but at the end of the day, it's all about consistency and staying in front of these people. So I have that, and I've got another networking group later this week, or networking event later this week, to try and just stay top of mind to all these people.
And it's first
Um,
impressions too, right? Like, you're making an excellent first impression because, number 1, you're standing out, and I can almost guarantee that most of your networking events, people are not preparing to, to slam them with the wow factor in those senses, right? So even if you were to make the exact same thing that you made in more of a specific manner to what you're the networking event. I mean, even if it just has I remember one time, so I was I am still technically a Mary Kay consultant. And I remember going to one of the big conventions, and one of the girls put her card in a clear cello bag that had like the self adhesive, but she filled it with like confetti, like sparkles. And I remember getting it and I'm like, I don't even want to open this. I just want to keep it because it's so pretty. Right. So, like, that's the thing. Like, people will be delighted for sure when they receive something like that. And it's always going to stand out. Because the first thing I did, well, I think it was, I'm not sure if it was yourself or your wife, one of you. Anyways, I brought my 12-year-old, and he was like, "Yeah, this is awesome." And I'm opening up mine, and I think you had Oreos or something in it, and he's like, "I want your Oreos too." And like, it was just great for him. And I mean, I would have eaten mine had it not been eaten already, but I just think it's such an amazing tool for you to, make that first impression. So um I don't know where I was going with
yeah,
that and
no, it's
cut
fine.
you off, but
Yeah, no, I mean, that's literally what the goal is. The goal is to meet people at any
yeah.
networking event or any convention.
Yeah.
The goal is to meet people. I know that my mortgage mentor, Mike Hajar, he works at American Financial Network as well. He's one of the he was part of Ford as well. He was also at the event, but he's also a part of Renee Rodriguez's group. I'm sure you're
Okay.
probably familiar with Renee
Yeah.
and Amplify, and some of the titans in our industry. The mortgage and real estate space are a part of Renee's group, and Mike has introduced me to so many different people at these events. And I've only seen literally Mike probably 3 or 4 times in person in my entire life, but we've been connected for about literally 2 years now. And we just became really amazing friends over time through that. And it's all a
Mhm.
part of like that, creating that relationship, right? The first
Mhm.
relationship when I met him was at the AFN Branch Managers Conference in September 2 years ago. Our hotel was right next to his, and we were out there hanging out, right? In the
Yeah.
back, with the balcony. And that's literally how I met him. And we
Yeah.
joked because we were one of the first people to check in. So they gave us like the bargain barrel room, in our opinion, like the view of the parking lot on the first floor of the hotel. That was our first interaction, our first creation. And then from there, it just literally is blown up as a friendship and a true relationship. And that is like literally the meat and potatoes of how it works. You can't be afraid to put yourself out there. You can't be afraid to just say, hey, what's your name? I've heard people say, hey, you shouldn't ask what somebody does for a living. Well, why not?
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to engage. Because most people don't know how to say, ask open-ended questions that aren't,
Right.
hey, what do you do for a living? So it's one of
Yeah.
those things, like whatever it takes to get talking at
Mhm.
any networking event or group event, or, even birthday parties or anything that you can do to just put yourself out there and get in front of either not just new people, but the same people that maybe already know you, especially in your local space, to try and
Yeah.
just figure out how to get in front of new people. And
Yeah.
always don't ever ask to be introduced to other people. I had a guy who said, they ended up going with another lender, but he said, I really appreciated how good you were at your job, and I will be sure to give other people your name who I work with and who I'm cool with or whatever, because I think you did such a great job.
Mhm.
And that's really the most humbling thing that anybody can say to you after they break up with you, is
Yeah.
to say, I really loved working with you, even though it didn't work out. And it
Mhm.
is humbling for me to even mention that on a public forum, because
Yeah.
I like to win. I don't like to lose, but you don't
Yeah.
always win. And the people that are always winning, guess what? They're either lying or they're not doing
It's
that much
gonna run
business,
out eventually.
because even LeBron, Kobe, Tiger, you name it, anybody that's in sports, even Michael Phelps has lost the
Yeah.
swim race at some point.
Yeah.
So, it's anybody that says they never lost or never lose, it's like, okay, dude, that's cool.
And
But,
the thing
anyway,
about losing, and as a realtor myself, there have been many, many times that I have gone into competition with other realtors to to get the listing, and I've been unsuccessful. I was talking to another agent the other day about how hard it is and how scary it is to pick that phone up and call them and go, why didn't you choose me? Like, what was it? What was the deciding factor? What could I do better? You know, asking for feedback is such a hard thing to do, but you just have to swallow your pride and realize you've already lost the deal. You have nothing to lose and you have everything to gain. Absolutely everything.
100%.
Ask
So
for feedback. How can you get better?
100%. And the irony of you bringing that up is, or us bringing this up, is my son, he just turned 16. He's going to be a junior here at Virginia Beach, at a local high school. And I got him a book for his birthday. And it literally is, I forget who the author is. He's very well known. Either way, it's, if you don't win, you learn instead of lose, right?
Yeah,
And it has the
absolutely.
word lose crossed out. Like, once again, I beat myself up for, can't remember the author's name,
I'm
but
the
the point
same.
is, it's a very well-known book, but it's the teen version. That's what really caught my eye, because I've know the book. I've read the book. If you don't win,
Right.
when you don't win, you learn.
Yeah.
But it was the you don't win, you learn for teens. So I say that, and that it's never too early
Yeah.
or too late in a lot of cases to try and do self benefit, self-help type of thing, because a lot of the things that we talk about with these types of self-help, and you go and do the networking of it, do the pop by that you've been talking about that you
Yeah.
didn't pull the trigger on.
Yep.
It's the continuance of hearing the same thing over and over, that maybe it's the 26th time it took for you hearing it, that you're like, hey, you know what, screw it, I need to go do that shit,
Yep.
because what else am I doing?
Yeah.
Because what are that's the old saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, or whatever. You got the
Absolutely.
random dude going to try to holler at the girl. you know it's so true, though,
Yeah.
because if you don't put yourself out there and you don't do these things, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Literally, with AI anymore, you can literally say, I'm going to a networking event, I want to stand out, what can I do? I've never
Absolutely.
done that before, but I'm thinking, and if I'm going to a networking event and I can't think of anything to do, just put it in AI and see what comes up. You never
Yeah.
know. It may not be exactly what you want, but it may spark your memory to get you in that right direction. AI, to me, in a sense, is like a mastermind with yourself, because
Yeah.
I know that when I used to try and write papers in college and even in high school, I couldn't think of what to write. So I would go ask my friends or my mom or whoever It's like, hey, I got to write this paper on something, but I can't think of what I need to write it on.
Yeah. It's
And
like
just
your personal
mastermind.
AI assistant that you can
Correct.
literally like bounce ideas off. They basically become your personalized partner because you can say, here are my thoughts. Tell me what you think.
Mhm.
And I use AI all the time. I love it. I generated our questions today with AI because I said, here's what I'm doing. I'm interviewing this gentleman who I met at a networking event who, you know, who generated the wow factor for me, or however you want to say it. And I really want to dive into his whole thought process on this, and how he created this experience, and blah 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 blah. And it spewed
Yeah.
out a bunch of questions that I can ask, that is relevant to what we're talking about. And sometimes I don't have the best ways of asking questions or coming up with the things to ask, whereas this will give me a bit of a structure to say, okay, so looking back, is there anything you would have done differently with the survival kits? I may not have thought of that, right? Like, it's a good question to ask. And also, in complement to your last quote there, I love this quote because it's something that's always stuck with me, is if you don't ask, the answer is no. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to ask, because I mean, I wouldn't have had you onto this podcast if I wouldn't have asked you. If I wouldn't have asked, the answer is no. So I had to ask to get the yes, right? And whether it was a yes or a no, you don't know until you ask.
Exactly. I mean, things have to happen, right? First step, make the kit. Second step, hand the kit out. Third step, engage. And
Yeah,
then the rest is history. So, I remember I had given away probably half of mine, and I'm like, and it's like halfway through the first day, and I'm
yeah,
like, shit, I got to get rid of these things, man. Got to get rid of them. And I just start machine gunning in a sense, but at the same time engaging, like, hey, I literally walk up, hand it to him. Hi, my name's Creagan. What's your name? My name's Tim. Oh, nice to meet you, Tim. You mortgages, real estate. What do you do? Oh, I do real estate. Oh, that's great. Well, it's great to meet you. And then you move on to the next one. You're not
yeah,
having a 5-minute conversation. And the biggest thing in sales, and I will take this to the grave. The biggest thing in sales for me, because what we all do sales. This is all
yeah,
sales, in my opinion. People can
yep,
call it what they want, but in my opinion, it's sales.
yep,
The biggest thing in sales is emotional intelligence. Knowing and understanding the person that's sitting across from you, and reading their body language if they truly and genuinely want to be engaged with you. If
right,
they are throwing you the cold shoulder, a good salesperson can realize they're getting the cold shoulder, and they literally move on to the next one, because that is a
yep,
cold lead. That's
yep,
not even close to warm. And you
yep,
move on to someone like yourself who's a warm/hot lead, and you're like, hey, it's great to meet you. Great to engage with
yep,
you. I don't think we talked for longer than 60 seconds, maybe
yeah,
90
probably
seconds at
not.
a
Yeah.
total. And look at us now.
But the thing is
It's all about that
too,
engagement. And my QR code was on the sticker for you to be able to
exactly.
quickly look me up. You don't have to say, oh, how do you spell your crazy ass name, Creagan? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and that's the thing too, like, you put your business card inside of it, so that's the most important part of it, is because if you don't have, 15 minutes to have a conversation, then you can say, "Hey, I've got a bunch of these still to give out. Let's connect on socials, or reach out to me and we'll connect on socials," or whatever, because most of us are active on social media. So that's the best way to connect, usually, is to say, "Hey, make sure you connect with me on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll definitely connect." And I'm pretty sure that I texted you just to put you in my phone as I was opening up the kit, and I think I was following you on on the social platforms. So, I mean, and that's the thing. You either connect with somebody or you don't. And I wanted to pursue a relationship with you because you do things the way that I do things. And that's a common bond that we have, is, we like to stand out. We like to do things different than the norm. We're not the boring old realtor or mortgage lender. We do things a little bit different, and we take pride in that.
Correct.
So that's, and the right people will connect with you and build that relationship. You don't want people building a relationship with you that brings no value to the relationship. If it's dead, it's dead. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, absolutely. And the biggest thing I kind of hang my hat on is networking. I try to do a lot of networking and put myself out there and go to these events and try to invite realtors to different events that I'm going to or hosting. And then financial advisors as well, different people that I meet in my sphere, um, whether they are more in real estate or not, get them to
Hmm.
come out, just invite whoever, because, that's part of it. The biggest thing with me is in networking and doing all these things, and throwing events and doing, trainings, and your boy Brian Buffini up there in
Yeah,
Canada,
love
doing these
him.
Buffini events and stuff like that. It's important, because even if you only have 3 or 4 people show up, you literally had 3 or 4 people show up.
Yeah,
The goal is to get people to show up. If you can get 20 people in a room, hell yeah, you killed it. But
yeah,
if you can only get 3 or 4, you still got 3 or 4. So
yeah,
there's a lot of people that will put an event out there literally 3 days before the event. And like, dude, I get it, but it's tough. It's tough to market that if you don't give yourself the time. So
yeah.
there's a lot of things that go into the marketing and the networking and the total overall. But the biggest thing too, I believe, is social media.
Hmm.
And I think I think Neil has definitely probably said it at some point, and Trevor,
Yeah,
your social media is a big part of your CRM. For those
yeah,
of you who don't know, Neil and Trevor are part of the Ford Academy that we went to, Ford
yes,
event. So your social media is a big part of your CRM, in addition to the newsletter that you may send out, which how many clickbait or click opens do you get or whatever?
yeah,
What's your percentage? Probably pretty damn low to
yeah,
compared to the people that may see your social media. If I get 2 or 500 or $1,000 or $1,000 views on my Facebook reels, great. I can kind of cap or quantitate the amount that are seeing that.
yeah,
However, my still posts, I have no idea how many people see it, but I've branded myself here locally in Virginia as Captain Mortgage. When I go places, people like, oh, hey, Captain. Like, I went to a networking event the other day. This girl or this lady, she's like 5'10". She literally yelled to her Captain Mortgage. And I'm like, once you have people literally screaming your brand, her husband was there, by the way. But once you have people like that screaming your brand, whether a guy, girl, doesn't matter, that means you won from a marketing perspective, because
absolutely.
that lady's not in real estate. She does marketing herself. Her and her husband own a magazine
Oh,
that's
cool.
local here, and I think they put out like 9 or 10 different what do they call it, neighborhoods or whatever. They
Oh,
do like
okay. Yeah,
neighborhood magazines, right? So it is real estate related, I guess, because they're putting it marketing to a neighborhood. But at the same time, she's not a real estate agent. She's not a lender. She's not a insurance person. She just literally dug my vibe the first time we met. And now when we see each other, it's like, hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
yeah.
And that's the biggest thing is trying to capture people's what is it? People's
Attention.
attention
Yeah,
through your brand, utilizing social media as your CRM.
yeah,
And it just
absolutely.
happens organically. You're not saying, "Oh, my social media is my CRM." No, it's just organic. It happens because of dot dot dot.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so being that you are in the industry and I know you're heavy into the networking and stuff, do you infuse the wow factor into your client experience? So the experience of your buyers, sellers, buyers?
Yeah. So what I picked up using Loom, Loom. I don't know if you're familiar or
Yeah.
not, but started utilizing that probably about maybe 6 months ago.
Okay.
It wasn't expensive. It was like, I don't know, maybe $10 a month, but I paid it
It's
all up
way
front.
cheaper than BombBomb, I can tell you that because I
Yeah,
have
oh my
BombBomb.
gosh. BombBomb's very expensive, but BombBomb has its good stuff too.
Yeah.
But yes, it's very significantly cheaper than BombBomb for
Yes.
sure. But I'm not here to sell you on either, because I think they're both great. Either way, Loom is great because, and I utilized it to go over my loan estimates. And when I send out pre-approvals, I do it straight from my phone and attach it, embed it into the email of my pre-approval. Hey, Michelle, great to meet you. Here's your pre-approval for $400,000. Let me know if you find a property and you want me to run some quick numbers
Right.
to see what your monthly payment may be. And, you're shopping at your max DTI. Let's make sure you still qualify with the
Yeah.
taxes and insurance. Make sure there's no flood, stuff like that. And it's literally a 60-second video,
Yeah.
usually, or 30-second video, just introducing myself, because now a lot of people we don't actually meet like this through
Yes. Yeah.
video. So I try to use video as a wow factor from that perspective from the very start of the
Yeah.
pre-approval all the way through the process from when the loan estimate goes out to the lock-in loan estimate, when we lock that rate in, to the initial CD, and then of course the final CD. And
Right.
I've tried to make it a habit and stay consistent with those items so that that person still feels engaged. And if you were to go look at my, I think it's, gosh, what is it called? Experience.com. If you were to go look me up on experience.com right now, where
Okay.
a lot of our reviews for me, the reviews for me in the last 6 months, you'll see, I'd say almost every single one of them that left like a more than like great job or great whatever.
Yeah.
Anybody that left somewhat semi-detailed, they mentioned the word video,
That's awesome.
because the videos are engaging and they save me from having to hop on a phone and literally go over the loan estimate every single time. It's a 2 to 3 minute video or a 10 to 15 minute conversation.
Yeah.
So
And
I
it's
think
such a more personable experience too,
correct.
right? Like they're connecting with you face to face virtually, but it's way more personable than it is being on the phone, just talking into each
Yeah.
other's ears.
Yeah. And it saves time. I know that's the one thing that, you can't get back is time. And that's one thing that a lot of the high level, high producing mortgage bankers always talk about. I don't have time. I got to scale.
Yeah.
So if you can literally take a 3-minute video or a 2-minute video to explain a loan estimate, they can literally just go back on,
And go
because
rewatch it. That's what
they
I
can
like
go
to do.
rewatch it, or say they pull it up, they watch it, and then they want to go watch it with their spouse. And then
Yeah.
the spouse is like, I still don't understand. Okay, well, let's watch this shit again.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Watch it a
Watch
couple
it
more
10 times.
times. And then if we don't understand, we'll call them back
Yeah.
and we'll get them to
Yeah.
explain. And yeah,
Well,
that's the thing. Like I've sent videos of, home evaluations with details on here's some comparable properties, the details on those properties compared to your properties. And maybe it's a situation where it's an estate sale where there's a number of children involved. I send it to the one of the children who are in charge of everything, and then they're distributing that video out to everybody. So now everybody's on the same page and understands. And I think that's and it saves myself time from having conversations with all those individual people. I do it one time, everybody gets the exact same information and it's understood. You know what I mean? Like it's such a
yeah,
great way to
yeah,
connect.
correct. So
Now, do
video
you
wow
guys,
factor.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it is.
Do you guys have, like, I know there's been times where, we sometimes still have multiple offer situations, or we will have, so a mortgage broker that I work with here will sometimes send a video, like a couple minute video to the seller saying, hey, just want to let you know, we do have a financing condition in place. However, they're solid. We are, checked off all the boxes. But, the bank may require an appraisal, which is why we're putting that in there. But he vouches for the buyer. Do you guys do stuff like that?
So that's a great question. The video is actually that's a really good freaking idea.
There
It's
you
one of
go.
those things
You're
where it's
welcome.
like, I do them, but I never really thought about that. But I definitely do call the selling agent, or the listing
Yes.
agent, I should say. I call the listing agent. It's,
And
generally
explain.
say, hey, we got a rock solid borrower, verified their assets and their income. And that's pretty much it, because I
That's
don't want to get
cool.
too deep. And yes, some will try and see what they can get out of you and say, oh, well,
Yeah.
how much money do they have? Can they
Yeah.
really afford these closing costs? Or
Yeah.
my favorite, do they really need these closing costs? And I always, I think I'm pretty good at this. I came from a nuclear compliance background. So, and prior to that, I was a merchant marine as an engineer. So I had to deal with compliance on the other end. So I
Right.
was 15 years progressively of dealing with potential compliance and things of that sort, and people asking you really difficult questions when you're not expecting it. So I
Yep.
think I'm pretty good at it in a sense,
You're
not
good
as
on
good
the
as probably a
fly.
lawyer, but probably not far off. Either way, when they ask you these questions, my response is, whatever the real estate agent has put into the contract as an offer, I trust is correct.
Perfect. That's an excellent response.
Because I'm not going to
You're
give
working
you
for the
anything.
buyer, right? Like you're not
Correct.
working for
And
the
even if I
seller.
wasn't, and I was a third party that had no relation to this, I'd be like, come on, man. Like, I appreciate you asking. And there may be some loose lip lenders out there like, yeah, man, they really need it. They got literally $100 in their bank account.
Yeah.
No seller out there wants to hear that.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
be honest with you. So
Exactly.
anyway,
But yeah,
yeah.
that's a cool idea. You could maybe transform that phone call into a video and see if that makes a difference in some way.
Yeah.
And
Or if I don't
maybe,
get them on the phone, I shoot them a quick video,
yeah.
you know? If
And
I
then
start
at least you
typing and
know that they have it, right?
yeah, if I start typing and I realize they have an iPhone with the little blue bubbles, guess what? I
Yes.
might just hop on a quick, hey, Tommy, just want to introduce myself, and do
Because
one
they
of
may
those.
want to work with you at a future date because they're like, "Hey, man, this Captain Mortgage guy, he's friggin' on the ball. He's doing things that I've never seen people
That's a
do."
great idea. I
Yeah.
appreciate that, Michelle. They
Yeah.
always say, yeah, I know Neil and Trevor, they definitely said it. They were like, if you just get 3 things out of this conference, get 3 things.
Yeah.
That's all you needed to get. It's going to be sensory overload and information overload. Get 3 things. I've definitely got one thing off this conversation, and that's that
That's
at
awesome.
minimum, at minimum. So
No,
that was
amazing.
great. That's, makes you
And
kind of
and
go a little bit around, like you understood it and you do these things, but like little
yeah,
flex. That's
you
nice.
gotta just infuse that wow factor in different ways, right? And that's the creativity where my mind comes is how can you be even more different? Like you're doing great, and that's the thing with the businesses that I'm working with is they're all doing amazing anyways. But how can we make it just that much better, right? How can we just overstep the competition by this much more?
100%.
But, is there anything that you would change about the survival kits? Do you plan on doing it next year at the event? I'm sure I'll see you there in July
Yeah.
next year.
I mean, it's one of those things where it depends on how busy we are.
Yeah,
The honest truth. I mean, obviously we're busy, but if we all have 20 loans in our pipeline, then we either A may not go
delegate.
to the conference or B, we may not have time, right? Because
Yeah,
everything takes a little bit of time. It takes time, even if you get it delivered, it takes time to go into walmart.com and put all these things in the delivery thing and do all those things.
yep,
So, yes, the goal is to definitely do that. I think
yeah.
the prior year we went over to the donut place and bought 2 dozen donuts
Oh,
and a
okay.
stack of napkins. The forward event the previous year,
Right.
and it wasn't as personal as maybe doing that, but it was
Yep.
something, right?
Well, because
So
they were probably I know I kept a bunch of that stuff in my purse the whole time during the event, right? Flossers, everything. Such a friggin' brilliant thing because I very seldom think to throw that kind of stuff in my purse. I have them in my suitcase, but I don't think to ever put them in my purse. So I was like, man, these guys are friggin' smart.
yeah, and we were in Vegas, right? Sin City, so there was even I think some Advil or something in there
Yes, there
too.
was Tums and Advil and
Yeah,
um Oreos and
yeah,
gum.
a true
I will
survival kit.
post the picture in the comments because
Yeah,
I 100% have a picture in my phone of it.
yeah,
And that's the
that's
thing,
great.
another thing is people probably did take a picture and post about it because it was something super cool.
Hmm.
So,
Exactly.
I am super, grateful that you hopped on and had this conversation with me today. I'm super, grateful that I had the opportunity to meet you and, keep doing what you're doing. Obviously, some great things in the mortgage world and infusing that wow factor is always important. I am going to send you an invite to the WowWM community that I'm building on School because School is super cool right now, and it's a totally different world actually. But I'm super excited to be growing on there. So yeah, maybe I would love to actually chat with your wife and have her come on as a guest and maybe talk about her side of things if she's into that, and we can maybe have her on as well.
Yeah, sounds great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
All
much,
right,
and
appreciate it.
we'll stay in touch for sure.
Yes, absolutely, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thank
Have
you.
a great